Hello, hello, welcome back. We are going to get right into another rolling breakdown. Today, I am rolling with Alicia, my very good friend, and she's also the co owner, along with her husband, Mateus Lutez, of my Jiu Jitsu Academy, Royal Jiu Jitsu, in my very humble opinion, the best Jiu Jitsu Academy on the planet. Now, I wouldn't say today's roll is super flashy, and maybe to somebody on the outside, probably not very exciting, but it is very technical in subtle ways. I talk a lot about grip fighting and the ways that me and Alicia break each other's grips, the different ways that we control each other, and very specific strategies on how we try to shut down each other's game. I think you'll really get the inside scoop on what is really going through my head and why I'm doing very specific things and how I'm doing them. So sometimes in a role, it can look like not a lot is going on, especially when people have similar games to one another, but there is a lot going on, and I think this is a great role for you guys to see that. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions or if you'd like me to elaborate on any part of the role, please leave a comment and let me know. As always, if you feel like you have some tips for me, because I am always continuously, desperately needing to learn, and I need help in jiu-jitsu. So if I'm doing something wrong, or if you have something that you think can help me, leave a comment and let me know. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. So we start by trying to find our grips. At this point, I usually know that Alicia will pull guard, but if I can get my grips first, that's a win. But she did end up getting the pull first. She pulls to De La Riva on her left side. So my first instinct is to prevent her right foot from going to my hip, because I know that she wants to off balance me and move around towards my back. She almost does, but I'm able to base out with my right arm, and I maneuver my knee to free it of the De La Riva. She recovers to close guard, and she just does a really good job of using the collar to control my posture, and then she'll move to overhooks on my arm, and I know that she's ultimately looking for the triangle or the arm bar, so I have to be really careful of my posture. You can see she incorporates her hips too, because using just her arms is difficult to control my upper body, so bumping her hips up in combination with her head control and sleeve control just makes it kind of a tough fight from here. When I start to feel her climb her legs up to a higher guard, I know that I'm in trouble. So first and foremost, I'm keeping myself tight, making sure not to expose either of my arms for her to isolate. Her guard was open for a second, but her overhook and head control made it really hard to capitalize on that opportunity. I bring my foot out to base myself, but after sort of centering myself, I bring it back right away because I don't want her to underhook it and start setting up a sweep. I get my posture back, put my hands in her hips, and she opens her guard. Immediately, I get one knee in the center, and I try to step backwards to get her foot off of my hip. I do a little shin flip to get rid of the De La Riva, but she has my sleeve, so I can't control that De La Riva foot. She switches to an ankle grip, and she goes to elevate me with her right foot. And honestly, guys, I'm still fighting for my life with her De La Riva hooks. I'm trying to push the inside of her knee to get rid of that hook, but then realize I should probably get rid of her collar grip first. I don't like hanging out on my knees, especially when someone has a tricky guard, so I'm just trying to break the collar grip and create my distance. I go to step inwards to break her ankle grip, and she was going to follow up with a single, but we moved too much away from the camera, so we just had to move back to the center for you guys. As we start grip fighting again, this time I really wanted to pull first. I usually like to pull myself right underneath my partner. Here I have a collar and a sleeve grip, and I go to my trusty little ankle hook to knock her off her base, but she's able to bring that knee back to the center. For me here, it's kind of a battle of a few things, of keeping her at a distance with my shield on my right side, maintaining my grips, maneuvering my hips to off balance her, all while waiting for the right opportunity to make that space to get my spider guard. I am keeping one foot in her hip the whole time so that I can control the distance. She tries to hip into me to get rid of my grips, but she didn't quite get it on an angle, so I was able to stay heavy and keep my grips. I go to off base her to the right with my ankle hook, and then to the left when she comes back, and as she's trying to center herself again, I use my sleeve grip and my spider hook to set up a triangle. And not so lucky for me, we had been working on triangle escapes for nearly all of January, so she did a good job of utilizing what we've learned. She escapes by getting a cross collar grip, which makes it difficult to move that arm all the way across my hip, and she's trying to keep her knee under my back to keep my hips elevated, which makes it hard to adjust my angle. When I feel like I'm losing it, I just bring my legs back down and recover to my close guard. You'll see when I open, I bring my feet to her hips right away so that I can hip escape on an angle because I'm looking to bring my foot to her ankle, but she does a good job of blocking my foot, and I couldn't quite get my angle, and I thought about sweeping out
out for the far leg, but it all just kind of got messed up here. When she postures up and when she steps out of my guard, I kind of just felt like starting fresh, so I just got back to my feet. As we move back into the center, we're both looking for the grips that we want, and as you can probably tell by now, we only do takedowns once in a blue. Alicia gets a collar grip and she gets a sleeve grip. She pulls guard and goes right to, you can probably guess it, her super annoying De La Riva. She elevates her hips really high, which allows her to bring her De La Riva foot all the way through to my far hip as I try to break her collar grips at the same time. So now my biggest concern is her taking my back. I drop to my knee, being careful not to expose my back, and I'm looking to get her left foot off of my hip. Once I clear her feet off of my hips, I do sort of a technical sit-up, and then she recovers close guard, and now it's the same battle of trying to keep a tall posture. My base is wide. I try to break her collar grips and just not let her get too close. Now she does the same thing that I do. She opens her guard, puts her feet in my hips, and angles herself off so that she can get spider on her right side and her left foot to my ankle. And I'm like, oh girl, heck to the no. Then she tries to go for her triangle, and I know how her triangles feel, okay? So I for sure need to avoid that at all costs. So I block her right leg from going over my shoulder. When I get stuck in her never-ending close guard again, I bring my hands to her hips, I arch my back, kind of like a cat, and bring one knee in the center. I find that if it doesn't immediately open my partner's guard, it may at least make them somewhat uncomfortable so that they voluntarily open the guard. I always get a knee up right away to avoid getting off balance and being pulled into close guard again. Now you guys know the drill by now. You see me fighting for my life with her De La Riva, and then I had this silly idea of, let me see if I can just power out of this freaking thing, and that just led me to getting taken down by a single. Now here is kind of a fight because when she takes me down, I wanted to invert under, but I couldn't, and my legs are just kind of floating in the air. I don't have good sleeve grips or collar grips, so I don't have really any stability and control. After a little spinny maneuver that only leads me to go to turtle, I try to get some kind of an underhook so that I can fight my way back to my feet. She pulls with head and arm control, so now my mission here is to just be heavy and keep her flat while I'm in her sort of 3/4-ish guard. So here I have the underhook on the right side, which is great. If I didn't have an underhook on my right side, that would completely open up my back, so be careful of that. What I'm trying to do is stay really heavy and also use my left foot to try to start breaking her right foot's grip on my leg. It's like I want to stay heavy, I don't want to bring my weight too far forward, but I do need to get my leg out. So now here is where it goes downhill. I hip switch because I love doing that, but as I'm trying to push her left leg off me, she traps that arm. She pushed up on my elbow and she gets a freaking Kimura. I literally looked at her and I was like, what was that? That has never happened to me before. It was so sneaky, and you just really never know what kind of tricks somebody has up their sleeve. I guess I have to be a little more careful with my hip switches.